Hello, everyone. Welcome to this webinar. We'll just wait for a minute or so for people to join in. So I think we'll get started. I see people joining in still, but hopefully they won't miss much. We'll start with the intro and there will be time for the interesting bits on live interoperability demonstration. So welcome all to this webinar on standards-driven interoperability. This is me, Anita Mittal. I'm a component lead for the Digital Convergence Initiative at GIZ. So some housekeeping rules. Can we move on? Yeah. So you can ask your questions in the Q&A box. And if you have any comments, do share them in the chat box. So we have two boxes, one for your comments and introductions that you can use to introduce yourself in the chat. And there's a Q&A box exclusively for the question and answers. You can even like the questions if you want that question to be answered live and show your alignment with the question. So we also have simultaneous interpretation available here in 4 languages, English, French, Spanish, and Portuguese. Please click the icon to select the language which you are most comfortable. And this session will be recorded. So we deem that you consent for the webinar to be recorded with camera on or off mode. So with this, we start the recording and get started. So what do we have on the agenda today? So we start with a quick introduction from my side to set the context and explain a bit about Digital Convergence Initiative. I hope that more than 50% of the audience knows about DCI, so please bear, it is more for the remaining people who have not heard about DCI yet. But it's a very short intro. This will be followed by a special address from EU Digit team on CAMS, which I will let her expand and explain what it is, not to steal the thunder. Then we will have the interesting part where you will see live demonstrations of interoperability behind which DCI standards are working, where you will see 4 use cases of social protection delivery amongst 5 DPGs working in real time. I hope Murphy's Law doesn't come in action. After these demonstrations, we are going to open it up for participants to ask questions and answers to all the presenters of these demonstrations, as well as our colleague from EU Digit team. This will be followed by a panel discussion where we have 3 country representatives with whom we will have an interesting discussion to see how they perceive the role of standards and DCI standards in particular. And then we wrap up the meeting with some closing remarks. So what is this digital convergence? So we have on this meeting today, myself I've introduced, then we have the keynote from Romina Fernandez, and then I will hand over to Mohammed, who is the moderator and he's from World Bank. And then we have 3 panelists, Warjed, Lamine, and Dominic, representing Peru, Senegal, and Pakistan in this webinar for the panel discussion. And we have 5 DPGs, Venki, Sunil, Jeremy, Edward, and Rachik, representing the 5 DPGs, OpenG2P, OpenMS, OpenSPP, OpenCRVS, and MOSIP. And you will hear from them during the course of the webinar. So going back to the question, what is Digital Convergence Initiative? So Digital Convergence Initiative was launched as a working group under Universal Social Protection 2030 with the objective of promoting digital transformation, leveraging standards for social protection systems. So this initiative is funded by both the German government as well as EU. And there are 5 implementing partners: GIZ, ILO, World Bank, Expertise France, and FIAP. And we have an expanding community of other international organizations, private sector, country representatives, independent experts, solution providers, the DPGs who are participating in the initiative. They have been supporters from day one, almost 5 years now. So moving on, how do we achieve this digital transformation in social protection? So we have 4 pillars of work streams. The first one is we are working on knowledge sharing. And this we do through both events like the ones we are doing now, Talking Interoperability in Action events, as well as knowledge products, reports, and case studies which capture best practices for implementing digital social protection while ensuring privacy, digital safeguards, and inclusion are in place. The second pillar, which is what the focus of the webinar today, is global technical standards. So we are developing consensus-based technical standards for interoperability, which are open standards and available in an open repository on Gitbook and GitHub for anybody to adopt it. So we just not develop the standards, but we also help countries to implement these standards as well as other digital social protection measures for achieving digital transformation. And here we have 2 options. One is we provide financial and technical resources in 21 selected countries through all the 5 implementing partners who have the presence in those 21 countries to implement well-defined digital social transformation measures. And then we have a help desk mechanism too, wherein requests from countries can be applied for seeking technical support for any aspect of digital transformation, including implementation of the standards, which we are now prioritizing. So if anybody is interested in implementing standards, do reach out to us. We will be more than happy to support you for the same. Then we also provide for capacity building through peer-to-peer learning, as well as training programs, which are organized in person across the globe, as well as we are offering it now as e-learning modules, some of which are already available, and the remaining would be made available in due course of time. So moving on to the next slide. So what is interoperability? Why do we need interoperability? So we believe that digitalization of social protection delivery systems makes delivery of social protection much faster and efficient. But to unlock their full potential, these digital systems must be interoperable. That is, they must be able to talk to each other and understand what each one is saying, communicating with each other. And how do we get interoperability? Obviously, everyone knows it's through standards. So DCI is working on development of consensus-based standards, which will establish common rules for how systems communicate using process standards, data standards, and API specifications. So we have, as you will see in the next slide, we have already published 7 interface standards, and the 8th committee is in progress for early warning systems. The only one that will come after this is the payment systems. All these standards have been developed with the help of 75 experts representing 35 partner institutions, representatives from 15 countries to ensure we have perspectives of different people across the globe from different organizations. So moving on. So the standards are ready to use, and they are also available to provide you hands-on support if you are interested in adopting and implementing these standards. We are also available to answer questions on what are these standards, how can we support. So not only help implement, but ask any preliminary questions to understand DCI and standards better. So with this, I summarize with what are the benefits of adopting these interoperability standards. As you will see, these standards enable vendor neutrality. Whatever be the DPG or the private sector vendor solution, these standards will enable you to do a mix and match, plug and play architecture where you can replace any component without impacting the remaining part of your workflow of a social protection delivery chain. It also reduces the time of building systems because you have defined the way you will connect to the other systems. So both the systems can develop in parallel and they can connect the minute they are ready with the already existing system. And these standards also enable the systems to be future ready because you know what is the plug point to which I need to connect if I have to talk to the rest of the world, and I can build more and more enhancements in my solution as long as I adhere to interacting standards for interoperability with other systems. And these standards are not static. Based on feedback and implementation experiences, development in technology, we are going to continuously update these standards, and you will get standards which are relevant to your country context, which you will hear a bit more in the country webinar. So with this, I'll now hand over to Romina from EU Digit for her presentation on the CAMS. Over to you, Romina.
Thank you very much, Anita. This is Romina Fernandez indeed from the CAMS team of the Digital Service Department at the European Commission. Very happy to be here to share a bit more about CAMS and the collaboration with DCI. Moving on, indeed, just starting with what CAMS is, it stands for Common Assessment Method for Standards and Specifications. This is a guide that was developed by the European Commission back in 2008 for supporting public administrations and digital service providers in assessing standards and specifications so that they can meet interoperability needs in e-government projects. Alternatively, also, it evolved over time to support also in the selection and justifications of already assessed standards and specifications. Contextually speaking, you can see a couple of initiatives revolving around, mostly at EU level, like the European Interoperability Framework that's supported in terms of providing recommendations and principles to go and be interoperable in terms of digital public services, as well as the digital funding program for technology and services at EU level. But more in general, CAMS began with the purpose of addressing several needs that even go beyond Europe, because they are common to public administrations or digital service providers when developing digital public services. And this specifically means to make sure that they are interoperable cross borders, as also Anita was defining before, so that we avoid any digital barrier and we develop solutions that can then exchange information and digest information reverse way. For this purpose, CAMS has developed several tools. So this methodology has then evolved into several tools revolving around three big categories, as you can see. Tools for supporting assessment, not only against the interoperability framework, but also other purposes like, for example, procurement, vocabularies that are core to understand what an assessment is and what the different steps and elements of an assessment are, as well as standards, libraries, and principles, because once a standard is assessed, it can serve reusage purposes. So it can be stored for public consultation to other key stakeholders. Moving forward then, I would like to share a couple of solutions that were then at the basis also of the collaboration with DCI. One is the CAMS assessment EIS scenario. This is an online survey-based approach that indeed serves the purpose of checking whether a standards or specification is compliant with the principles, interoperability principles and needs that are also recommended by the European Interoperability Framework. The idea is to provide a publicly available approach, is an online survey, so publicly, freely consultable, and also can be done in an autonomously way. Of course, without, if you need it, be the CAMS team can support, but you can also check it by yourself already and follow these several assessment criteria to see how, where and how your standards and your specifications meet interoperability needs. Oh, wait.
Hi, Romina, you seem to be having a internet challenge. Are you back again?
Sorry, I noticed I froze and it was like I stopped. Can you hear me now? It seems I'm back.
You can
Can you
continue.
hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Sorry, yes, I don't know what happened. Is that yes, I was, but I stopped as soon as I saw myself frozen. So I don't think I missed anything. Getting back to what I was mentioning. There was mentioning the EF assessment scenario. So back to the previous slide, if you don't mind, just to basically share a little bit more. Thank you. Just to basically conclude saying about in this survey-made approach to be followed, and to by following the assessment criteria, so you can evaluate how and where your standards and specifications are interoperable. Just a note, considering also the international scenario I'm speaking now, it's true that these interoperability views and criteria can revolve around EU legislation, for example, the legal aspect of interoperability. In case of non-EU context, you can omit that part and then proceed with the others that are more, let's say, legislation agnostic and check interoperability more at an organizational, semantic, and technical level. So this is like the approach for this part. Moving forward, indeed, in the next slide you were seeing a bit before, I was mentioning that once the assessment is done, then it can be used for usage purposes. So here is the thing is that one key aspect also of CAMS solutions is that once we assessed a specification, then it goes to populate this CAMS assessment library. This is an asset from CAMS that includes all the assessment of specifications and standards that are done and that turn out to be compliant, so that it can be freely checked and also reused by stakeholders when needed. Here, the population is twofold. On one side, we have the population by key stakeholders that have performed assessment using our solutions. The other side is also by ourselves as CAM teams. We proactively, continuously check and identify key specifications that would benefit from being certified, about interoperability compliance, to make sure that then we can provide a consistent library and also try to keep it up as updated as possible in this sense. So considering these two assets, moving also forward, those were at the basis of our collaboration with DCI, with the DCI initiative here. As you can see, we started now back in the end of last year, where DCI requested for checking indeed collaborating with us, the CAMS team, to review and assess several specifications. And here we're also continuing this journey with the DCI, continue with other specifications that you can see tackle several topics that are very dear to the DCI initiative. And as you can see also, we managed to conclude the assessment and the review assessments of some standards and specifications that turn out to be EIF compliant, so interoperable compliant against the several recommendations and needs, and also have been published. So now they are freely consultable and available to whoever can make any usage for then other purposes and choosing solutions for e-government services. We are continuing this way. Some assessments also, like the integrated beneficiary registry, is about to be finalized and turn out also to be as well EIF compliant. And we are also very happy to continue the journey and to also start it with some specifications that you see are planned. So this is also just to give you a quick snapshot of our collaboration from the CAMS side. And with this, I'm also concluding with the following slide about how to contact. We understand we have a lot of solutions and they can take a bit of time to digest. And for this, we have a community on this interoperability portal. Is the portal at EU level with all necessary information about interoperability. You will find us there, and all necessary information to understand and learn more about CAMS. And of course, if any question, I know we have the QA later, also feel more than welcome to email us at the email you see in the slide. Thank you very much. Sorry also for the technical issue in the meantime.
No worries, Domina. Thank you so much for this crisp and clear presentation on the value proposition. And I really appreciate all the support from the CAMS team in evaluating and helping us, improve whatever small gaps were there in the assessment and improvement of the standard. So with this, now I move on to the next section of the agenda, which is the interesting part, the live demonstrations. And for this, I invite Ed from CRVS Solution to get us started. Over to you, Ed.
Thanks very much, Anita. My name's Ed Duffus. I'm the co-founder and CEO at OpenCRVS. While Alta brings up the presentation, OpenCRVS is an open source digital public good for civil registration. So it registers births, deaths, marriages, divorces, and the like, particularly designed for low and middle income countries. So I've got the real pleasure of introducing some of these use cases. The presentation will proceed as follows. So I'll give an overview just on a slide of the flow that you're going to see, which is going to showcase interoperability between a number of different digital public goods. And then we'll run into the live demo, which will be supported by my colleague Alta. So this is use case one. So this is showing interoperability between three digital public goods: OpenCRVS, the modular open source identity platform MOSIP, and OpenG2P for government person payments. Normally, when we run demos, we're demonstrating just our platform OpenCRVS running in isolation. So it's really a great pleasure to showcase how digital public goods are able to interoperate through the DCI specifications to get full value end to end of the use cases that you're going to see. In particular, as governments deploy rather than individual solutions, they're able to deploy digital public services and think about the services for the end user. So as I go through this flow, I'm trying to emphasize, what this means for end users. So you see in the top layer, it's the process step. In this case, it's going to be the flow that follows from birth registration in OpenCRVS all the way through to the provision of conditional social welfare support to a young mother and of course her child. In the middle, it describes what this means for the family and why provision of this service in a digital format and the interoperability, how that supports the family. And at the bottom, you can see a number of the systems involved OpenCRVS, MOSIP, the ING wallet, and OpenGTP in their respective roles. So without further ado, it starts with the declaration of birth. So this is the parent within a health facility declaring the birth of their child in the locality where the child was born. Providing this locally means easy access for the parents, particularly shortly after childbirth. This is essential for young mothers. So the systems here involved will be the birth is declared in OpenCRVS, and MOSIP is used through eSignet to do the parent authentication. So we authenticate the IDs of parents to ensure data quality and integrity of data across systems. The second step is to register the birth and create the identity. So within OpenCRVS, a formal process of review and registration is followed. So the birth details are recorded in the system and the digital identity is created. So the output of this process is that the child, very important to establish rights of a child from the youngest age, they're issued with a legal identity. And this is done through integration between OpenCRVS and MOSIP in this instance. So MOSIP is issuing the national ID number, and this is returned to OpenCRVS on registration through the interoperability. So the third step is that, again, in OpenCRVS, we create a digital certificate in the form of a verifiable credential. So this is the latest advance in digital civil registration. So rather than creating just a paper-based certificate, which of course is still possible, we now promote the issuance of verifiable credentials. So a digital birth record which sits inside a digital wallet. It's great because it provides secure and permanent proof of the birth and is always available to the user. So there, what we're going to see is OpenCRVS issuing the verifiable credential, and you'll see that being consumed by the parent within the ING wallet. Next step is the parent applies to register in the child support program. So the parent provides their ID and will share the digital birth record, which they have, which they're holding within their ING wallet. This is great because no paperwork is required. It's easy and very easy to share. So there you're going to see for the first time OpenGTP being used in the process and the online and in-person capture of data. Next, there's going to be an eligibility check. So the household eligibility of mother is going to be checked, automatically verified with OpenCRVS with the trusted data which is held within the digital civil registry. This is great. The interoperability provides faster checks, no repeated visits. It's all automated. So this is validates at this point the verifiable credential and checks eligibility of mother and child. Next step is the support is approved. So the family member gets approved and added to the beneficiary list within OpenGTP. And then finally, step 7, they're going to receive their benefit. So end to end, this results in faster, more streamlined, better outcomes for the child in terms of the benefits that the parent will receive. So that's for the overall flow. Now, Alta, if we could move, please, to the live demo.
Thank you, Ed. So I'm logging into our demo environment. We've named it after a fictional country called Fragiland. So just for time purposes, I will be doing a direct registration as a registrar, where I will be registering the birth of a child. So I'm selecting the birth event. I am registering Jacob Duarte for today. Got some validation there. attendance at birth, the type of birth, all of the questions that we require for a successful birth registration. So the informer details, the mother will be the informant. Can I get another validation issue there? And the next step is we will be authenticating the identities of the mother and father. So first up is the mother's details, where we will be using e-signet to authenticate the identities. Coming back into Open CRVS, we can see we're waiting for the information to be fetched, and it's successful. And the mother's information has been successfully pre-populated. So now we can just quickly fill in any outstanding information. And now for the father's authentication.
As Alta shows this authentication method for the demonstration, you can see she's using the one-time password method, which is then simulated to be shared and entered by the user. This, of course, could be done using biometric authentication as well.
So the final step for our civil registration purposes is the uploading of the mother and father's identities. And let's have a quick review, see if everything is correct and all of the fields have been filled out and it matches our supporting documents. I'm going to do a signature via either a digital touchpad. And now we are ready to register. So we go to our action menu and we press register. So this is where I'm going to hand you over to Rashik from MOSIP, because currently the registration is in our pending external validation work queue, and Rashik from MOSIP will explain to you what happens behind the scenes.
Yeah, thanks, Alta. So yeah, we have just seen that Alta has collected the information and created a birth record on the CRVS side. Now, when Alta is saying that the record is pushed to MOSIP, what is happening in the background is the request is being sent to MOSIP using an API. So that's where CRVS and MOSIP integration comes into the picture. So once the information is collected, the API is used, and it's not just a. So what we have done is we have exposed one API from one of the MOSIP's module, which is Packet Manager module. So in general, a citizen has to visit a offline center of a national ID system or MOSIP ID registration center to register themselves. But we are bypassing that here, and the information collected by CRVS is now being leveraged by MOSIP as well. Since CRVS is the legal authority for the life events, and birth is one of the life events here. So we are taking the information from CRVS after the due process is followed. And now once that request comes into MOSIP, the request is processed just like any other packet. So the only difference here is the injection point is a bit different. So we can consider this as one of the examples where CRVS is working as a online registration center instead of a actual registration center, and this also helps the citizens to not visit two specific different centers to register birth and then register a national ID separately. So as soon as a birth record is created, the information is shared with MOSIP, And then MOSIP acts upon that information. There is a process for every request that comes to MOSIP. There are different stages that request goes through. Now, once all those stages will be passed, at the end, a UIN will be generated, and then that UIN will be shared back with the CRVS. So the time that is being spent here is the packet or the request is actually getting processed within MOSIP. So once that processing is complete, the same details and the credentials will be shared back with the CRVS. Now, in this particular scenario, we are taking an example of birth, but recently, and we have been working actively along with OpenCRVS, and we do have other workflows like birth registration, death registration, update flow, and we have gone live in one of the countries as well with this integration. I just see, Alta, you have received it.
That is correct. It's been successfully processed.
Yeah, so I'll just stop here. So in general, we do have different workflows which are supported as a part of this integration, and we are actively working on adding many more in the coming future. I'll put on the documentation link for everyone to go through it, and we'll be happy to support in case you have any questions. Yeah, over to you, Elda.
Thanks, Rashik. As you can see here, the national ID has been successfully generated. So the next steps for us in a registration flow is ideally a registration agent would log in to either certify, so print the certificate, but in today's flow, we're going to be issuing a verifiable credential. And we're going to be issuing this to the mother of the child. And this is where I am going to pass everything over to Venki from OpenGTP.
Thanks, Alta. So I will be taking over. So what I have now with me is I have a mobile with me, which is the mother's mobile. And what I'm going to do is Alta has just issued a verifiable credentials. What I'm going to do is I'm going to scan this QR code. Just bear with me till I scan it. Okay, now I'm going to share my screen. Thanks, Alta. I will share my screen.
Pleasure.
So what I did was I have Inji wallet on my mobile phone. I scanned the QR code that the registrar in OpenCRVS generated for generating the verifiable credentials. And I scanned that QR code, and Inji wallet then successfully downloaded the birth record here. So this is the birth record here that I have. You have Jacob Duarte's birth record with his registration number. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to walk across to another department as a mother, and I'm going to request the social registry department, which operates the child benefit program, to enroll this child as part of my household. So I'm going to show you how the payload that was actually generated by CRVS, which is actually a birth record, has now been encapsulated in this verifiable credentials, which is now present with me as a mother on my wallet. I'm going to take this wallet and go to the social registry department and request for enrollment of this new child into my household. So I'll request my colleague Narayan to share his screen, where I will show you the registry screen. Paulo, can you just knock me off from my screen sharing? Yeah, thank you so much. So this is the National Social Registry. We have two registers in the National Social Registry that we have created for this purpose of this demo here. We have the individuals register and we have the households register. Narayan, can I request you to go to the household register? We'll just go to the household register. Here we have some households registered. We are particularly interested in the household that belongs to Rafael Duarte and Elna Voss. So if you can click on the Rafael Duarte household, this is the household into which this new child is going to come in. Okay. And if you look at this household now, if you look at it, they have 3 members. in this household. Can you go to the next tab, household members? There are three, Elna, Rafael, and they already have a son. And now this is going to be the second child. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this particular verifiable credentials to be imported directly into the registry. And I will then take you to the steps in terms of how a social protection program can then benefit or leverage this particular information to create a child benefit. Narayan, can you just go into the submissions and open for an import from VC? So what we are doing here is that I am requesting for a intake from VC. So what the registry does is it generates a QR code for the presentation of the VC. And what I'm going to do is this is the mother with her mobile, directly sharing the verifiable credentials. So I am scanning this QR code that the registry has thrown upon me. And I'm going to share. Okay, so I have shared now. Now this is where the interoperability again kicks in. This is the payload that we are sharing, which is basically the DCI person object that we are defined in the DCI standards. So this is the payload that has been encapsulated by CRVS within the. What happened? I lost Narayan screen. Okay. Yeah, this is the payload that has been encapsulated by CRVS when they issued the verifiable credentials. And this has now been successfully sent and shared with the social registry. Now, in social registry, we have defined Open CRVS to be a trusted source. So we basically verify when we get this particular payload, we verify the signatures with respect to the Open CRVS system. We treat this particular payload as a trusted payload, and we are able to directly import this birth certificate as an individual into the registry. So he goes ahead and imports it. So we have now imported the verifiable credentials. Now, can you just go into the incoming messages? Last, yeah, go to the. So now we will show you what happens when we ingest the birth certificate here. So you can see the raw message here. This is the raw message that has come from OpenCRVS. This was the raw message. This is in the format of the DCI specs, the person object. It goes through a couple of processes within OpenG2P registry platform where we enrich it. We basically look for the parent's ID, and we also look for the household to which it has been linked, and we ensure that the child is added to the parent's household. And we now go to the transformed message. This is the final transformed message that we will enter into this. Can you refresh the screen, Narayan? Yeah. So now the ingestion has been completely processed. What this leads to is a form which is basically used for registering an individual into the registry. So we'll go to the next screen, which is basically the ingestion form. So what this message has actually done is that it has simulated, or rather created, imagine somebody walking into the registry and asking for an enrollment. We'll have to fill a form to enroll that individual into the registry. What we have now done is we have filled the form automatically using the import from the OpenCRVS. So Narayan, can you just go into the forms, incoming submissions? Yeah, so this is the form that has been filled automatically using the verifiable credentials. This is the validation. There can be a workflow here where you can have a verification. This can also be configured for auto verification and auto approval because it is a trusted system that is exchanging the data here. We have kept for a manual approval here. So I will ask Narayan to just provide one verification saying that it has been verified.
Sorry, I think I approved it. Verification
You approved
requires.
it? Okay. All right. Okay. So you approved it. Okay. So Narayan has approved this particular child into the registry. You can now go to the household registry and we will show how the child has been added. Go into the household. Go to the Duarte household. And now if you go to the household members here, okay, we see Jacob Duarte, that he has been added as a child into this particular household. And if you go into the first tab, Narayan, household info, there is a particular attribute here we also keep in terms of, go to the roster section, come down. You can see here that the number of children under 5 has now become 2 here. There was earlier 1 child and now we have 2 children. Now what we will show you is the next step is, this is the first step in the demo where the child who was registered in the birth registry has now been successfully imported into the social registry. Now, once it comes into the social registry, the same department is now running a social protection program for providing households child benefits. So now we go into the next product from OpenG2P, which is basically a social protection platform, which is called the Program Beneficiary Management System. Here I have, for the purpose of this demo, configured 2 programs. One is child benefit and one is widow support. Widow support is for use case 2, which we will see subsequently. So I'll go into the child benefit program. I'll just summarize what we have defined for the purpose of this demo. Here we are saying that this particular child benefit program looks into the household registry. That is the registry into which the child has come in. The fresh childbirth has been registered in the previous step. We are disbursing cash, digital cash here. That is the payment benefit codes, the first tab. Then in the next tab, we have set some eligibility rules. Who are the households who are eligible to receive this child benefit? So our condition here is that, Narayan, can you just click on that? Number of the first condition, the rule. Here we are basically saying that all children, all the families, all the households who have number of children under 5, that means they have children who are under the age of 5, they will be eligible for enrollment into this benefit program. So since our Duarte household now has 2 children, you will see how they get the benefits as part of this particular program. This is the eligibility. Then in the next tab, I will show you what we have defined as entitlement. Here we have defined that there will be $100 that is provided for every child in the household. So which means that there is $100 per child. So there is a multiplier here called size children under 5. So for every child that you have, we will multiply it by 100. So if you have 2 children, you will get $200. If you have 3 children, you'll get $300. So that's the kind of benefit. It's a very simple program. The emphasis is not on the program per se. It is just that we wanted to show you how the message payload that was actually originated in the birth registry has seamlessly flowed into the social registry, and how a social protection program called a child benefit program can then leverage that information in the registry to create this child benefit. So what we're going to do is we are going to create an enrollment cycle in this particular program. We'll create a new cycle, Narayan. We'll call it cycle 4, okay? And we have to create a new enrollment list with the, we'll call it list, list 1, that's fine. Okay. Now what this particular step does is that we are creating a list. This list is essentially a placeholder. What happens in the background is that this PBMS product that you are seeing in the screen is actually going in the background and contacting the registry and applying this eligibility rules and skimming for records which pass the eligibility checks. In our case, the eligibility check says that all households which have children under 5 should be considered. So basically, there is a asynchronous background processing that happens. It is essentially to cater for high volumes, so that we can imagine registry having 100,000 records or 200,000 records. So this is not necessarily something that is done immediately. It will take a couple of minutes, and we basically expect the background processes to kick in and look into the registry and come back with the list. So now if you just go into the list, So it says resolution status is complete, and we can now look at the beneficiaries. We can just search. Yeah. Now you can see here that the Rafal Duarte household has been enrolled. And if you can look at the column here on the children under 5, they have now been enrolled with two children. So which means that now if I take this particular step forward and I actually create a disbursement cycle and actually do a disbursement, the entitlement process will now calculate $200 for the Duarte family and disburse $200 into the banking channels so that the Duarte family will now get a credit of $200. So this was use case 1, where we wanted to show you how social protection benefit program leverages the information all the way from CRVS into the social registry using the DCI payload and in the standards that has been developed. So this was the use case 1. I'm not going into the downstream activities because the essence of the demo is the payload transfer from CRVS to Inji Wallet and from Inji Wallet into OpenG2P registry and from OpenG2P registry into OpenG2P benefit program. Yeah. So that was use case 1. I will hand the floor back to Ed and Alta for the next use case.
Super. Thanks very much, Venki. So impressed. Hopefully, were you with use case 1? We'll show you another example, use case 2, with the same digital public goods, OpenCRVS, MOSIP, and OpenG2P. This time, that's use case 3.
The previous one.
Use case.
Yep.
Apologies for that.
That's okay. So use case 2 is around death registration. And Venki already alluded to the social protection program, which is a widow's benefit program, which is going to use the data which is captured within the civil registration system, OpenCRVS, always within a country, the legal trusted source of vital event data. So the information needs to legally come from the civil registry. And then, as we've seen, through interoperability with MOSIP for authentication purposes and handling the national identity number, and then sharing information with OpenG2P, we get the benefit of this interoperable flow. So without further ado, so the steps quite similar. So I'll go quite quickly. So firstly, there's going to be the declaration of the death of a spouse. So the wife is registering the death of her husband at the civil registration office. Then the step 2, flag the spouse's national ID as deceased. So this is the interoperability again between OpenCRVS and MOSIP. There's a virtuous circle of trust between the civil registry and the identity system, in this case, OpenCRVS and MOSIP. So it's important to maintain the integrity of the ID schema for a country. So it's the trusted legal source of vital events data, OpenCRVS, which is providing that death registration. And then that national ID is going to be flagged as deceased within MOSIP. Not deactivated, but flagged as deceased because there may be purposes for utilizing that national ID while it resides in MOSIP. Then similarly, the data is going to be available. The status of the family will be verified within OpenCRVS via the social registry system using the search API, which will then update the benefits available to the family, in this case, the widow, based on the new household status. And then the family will be informed of the update. And of course, then they'll be enrolled within the program and eligible for payments. So Alta, let's go to the demo again, please.
So in a normal civil registration process, the spouse comes in and they to register the death of a husband. where they would first fill in a declaration form. I've already done that just to save us a little bit of time. So I am at the stage where a registrar is reviewing the declaration and about to register. So as a registrar, if I'm reviewing a declaration, I'm just quickly checking if all the information is correct. I can see that the deceased and the spouse's IDs has already been authenticated and all supporting documents are uploaded. So once I am happy with all of the documentation, I can just proceed to register. So this will register the death record in OpenCRVS, and it'll also send the most of processing to flagging the record as deceased. So, but I'm going to hand back to Venki to explain the rest of the process.
Thanks, Alta. So here in the first use case, we saw the birth register that was actually imported into the mobile, and it was the mother who carried the mobile and imported the birth record into the social registry. Yeah. Now, in this case, very similar. It is the same Duarte family where we have taken up for the demo. The wife has reported the death of Rafael Duarte, the husband, in the same household. And instead of me taking the death record on a mobile, this time our interface, we have directly connected OpenCRVS and the social registry. And the death register is immediately pushed into the Open G2P social registry. I'll ask my colleague Narayan to open the screen. So essentially this is the same payload, the person object that comes from OpenCRVS. Earlier, the person object came in the form of an individual in the birth. Now it is come in the form of a message. So we'll just go into a message, Narayan, to incoming message, data exchange. Last, yeah, go into incoming. We should see a new message that is here, which is basically the death record here. And if you can just open the raw payload, this should be the death record of Rafael Duarte, which has come directly from OpenCRVS. And the only change in this case was that earlier I had imported it using the wallet, whereas in this case, the interfaces that we have developed here was OpenCRVS directly just pushed this record into OpenG2P registry. So what this has done is this has created a change request on the individual record in the registry of Rafael Duarte. So Narayan, if you can just go to the change request and show this request. So what this message creates is a change request of Rafael Duarte here. If you can just open that Rafael Duarte. It basically shows what is changed here. So now you see here that Rafael Duarte has now record status will now become inactive. The reason being because of death. Okay, and the old value was obviously it was an active record. So now in OpenG2P we have configured that this has to be manually approved. We can also configure, because the upstream system OpenCRVS is a trusted system, we can even configure this for an auto approval if required. So Narayan, if you can just go ahead and approve this change request. Yeah, so this change request has approved. Now, how does this affect the household? So now if you go to the household registry of the Duarte household registry, yeah, come down to the roster, come down. Yeah, so here in the roster again, where we earlier showed you that the number of children under 5 has been updated in the household to 2. Here again, we have marked the husband deceased as true, and what is the husband date, which is today, when was the registered death. And then very similar to the birth program that we had, we have configured another benefit program, which is called the widow support program. In this widow support program, again, it is based on the household registry. Okay, it is going to disburse cash, US dollar cash. Now, what is the eligibility that we have defined here? We have defined the eligibility here. If you can just open the eligibility rule, Narayan. Yeah, we have said that This particular household will receive $200, or basically, if there is a death in this particular family in the last 12 months, then this particular household will receive every month a widow support program for the next 1 year. So that is the eligibility. So which means that the death has to be in the last 12 months. That is our eligibility criteria. So, and what is the entitlement? We have said that all such households who satisfy that eligibility criteria will receive $200 per month, or rather every enrollment cycle or every disbursement cycle. So this is the condition. So we will, just like we did in the previous use case, we will create a new enrollment cycle under the widow support program, and we will see how this particular death has affected this household, and how does the social program, the widow support program, leverage this particular information to create a frictionless, seamless program delivery for this particular household. So just like the previous use case, we have created a list, and we will wait for the program to go and search in the registry and apply the eligibility checks, and show you the enrollment list that has been prepared. You should have done, Narayan. I think you can just check. Yeah, so it has done the resolution. If you can just go to the beneficiaries. And you see that the Duarte household now has been enrolled into the widow benefit program, and they will get $200 when I do the further downstream processing in terms of creating disbursements and handing it over to the payment providers. So this concludes use case 2 as well, where we showed you in the use case 1, we showed you a birth record flowing through a wallet. And in the second case, we showed you a death record directly being pushed from OpenCRVS into OpenG2P, and OpenG2P leveraging that information to create benefit programs for the affected households. With that, I will now hand over the floor to Sunil for the next set of demos. Thank you, Alta. Thank you, Ed, for this.
Thank you, Inky. So I'll just go with the slide. So I'm not seeing the screen. Paula. Okay, thank you. So hello and everybody. This is me, Sunil Parajuli, from Nepal. I have been working on the social protection sector for more than 6 years, and we have been working with OpenMIS for more than 6 years on the provision of the implementing social security and health benefit program. So in this use case, we are seeing we are enrolling the farmers from the MOSIP eSignet. So basically, we will be authenticating the eSignet platform to get the correct credentials, or we can even call the verified credentials. So after we grab this data from the eSignet, we'll be enrolling that farmer. We call it as a farmer as a beneficiary in the OpenMIS. And then we have another DPGs, OpenG2P. From OpenG2P, as we already see, they have the registry for the farmer, and they also have the registry for the social registry. So based on those parameters, on the third one, we'll be verifying whether that farmer is actually a farmer or not, based on those register parameter from OpenG2P on DCI context. And then we also verify if that particular individual is on the poverty status or not, based on the DCI standard that we consume from OpenG2P. And then finally, if that person is eligible in the program, let's say the health social health benefit program, then we'll enroll that farmer in that program as well. So the flow is quite straightforward. First of all, we'll be using eSignet platform. So the eSignet platform verifies whether that person exists on the records or not. And then consequently, we'll be checking if that person has those eligibility status or not. Let's say it should be a farmer at first, and then it should be receive the poverty status from the registry as well. So that's quite straightforward use case in our case. And then let's see, I will start with my demo. Okay, I think you can all see my screen. We have OpenMIS dashboard. We'll be going with registration as previously described. As you can see, this is the form where OpenMIS registers the new enrollment. For this demonstration, I will be acting as an enrollment officer, where the user will come with their card and they will show the card, and I'll just enter their card on the system. Let's grab one data from the e-signet registry. So now, after the beneficiary provide the UIN number, I will just entering that UIN number in the e-signet platform, whether that person is correct or not. So once the e-signet platform verifies that this person exists in the database, they will ask for the OTP. So the beneficiary provides me the OTP, and I'll just enter on his behalf. So this particular person that I entered automatically comes in the OpenMIS form. So what it helps in the OpenMIS is that the consistency or duplication of those data can be eliminated through this process. So from the OpenMIS platform, we just need to put other information that is not provided by the e-signet. For this case, we'll just add few details of these persons. So we just put this as an national ID. So once everything is filled, we just get everything from the e-signet platform. We just go with the save. So in this context, some of these things like photo enrollment and those kind of things, once we get directly from the e-signet, we can conclude that this data is trusted and it is enrolled in the OpenMIS. Now the enrollment process is complete. We'll just go back. So the first person that we just enroll comes in the families or groups in OpenMIS. If we just go inside the detail, as you can see, he is already enrolled from the e-signet, and then he doesn't have any policies right now because he's not enrolled in any program, which will be going to showcase that the data that comes from the OpenG2P. So now once we see as an officer, I see the data is there, but his policy or the program, the social health program, he's not enrolled. I'll just open the OpenG2P platform. So this two particular form that you see side by side is helping the officer to recognize whether that person is in the farmer or not. So this record is verified. So he's actually a farmer that we get correct data from the OpenG2P. And then another metrics that we see is from the social registry is that this particular person is also verified. So this household meet the requirement for the program enrollment. So we also confirm that this person is from the low income family. So we conclude that this person is also as in poverty status from the social registry. So this kind of form is sent to the officer, and he can easily verify whether that person is eligible or not for those developing countries, because it could probably bridge those gaps from the document process in between those government partners like OpenCRBS or those kind of things. And then for the OpenMIS, I just need to enroll this person to social health insurance program. So we can just select few of those product. We call it a product in OpenMIS. So our use case suggests that we will be enrolling this person in the farmer benefit program. So once we select this, if this is not eligible, then we are not able to select this kind of things. So we'll just select the farmer benefit and confirm the enrollment. So the background process is running so that the things is actively enrolling the person in the social benefit program. So once the farmer is enrolled in the social benefit program, he will be given this notification check. And once we go back to the family tree, so we can see that there is one policy entitled to this person that we grab from eSignet, and then we cross-verified the social registry and farm registry with OpenG2P. We can see that person is enrolled in this program. So the value that we define is arbitrary, so we can define as many as we can. So this is what I think concludes our basic workflow on this use case 3. Okay, I think that concludes the use case 3 demonstration. I think I'll just,
Thank you.
Yeah.
If you stop the sharing, then I can start sharing. Perfect.
Thank you. Over to you, Jeremy.
Thank you, Sanil. So coming to the last demonstration, I'll try to be quick and also focus on slightly different things. So in this use case, we're going to use a few different products for across the different flow. So the idea is to be able to do a registration offline. So taking data offline, doing a registration using ID pass data collect, then still offline. And that's also answering like some of the question earlier I saw in the Q&A tool around people who don't have smartphones. So we will use another standard called Claim 169. To do identity verification offline, just using a QR code that can be printed on a paper. And then we will enroll the person. So we'll synchronize, go back online, synchronize, and then enroll the person into the program. And then an interesting part is going to be how do we do the validation? So dynamically, we will go to different systems to verify in the disability registry, and OpenSPP so OpenSPP can be social registry, SPMIS, disability registry, and farmer registry. And so in this case, from the OpenSPP MIS, we will go and get information from OpenSPP as a disability registry to get if this person has disabilities. And then we will go to OpenG2P to get the poverty level of this same person. Then the person is being enrolled into the program, and then cash is being transferred. So I'll start with my mobile. So if everything goes well, and I don't. Okay, so now you can see. Oh, okay, mobile connection stopped. Give me just a second to restart it. It got unconnected. Up. Okay, should be back. It's moving to the right screen. Okay, here it is. My phone is back. Sorry about that. I knocked the cord. Okay, so basically on my phone, I have the application. So what I'm gonna do is, so this is offline. So you see I'm offline, right? I disabled internet, so I have no Wi-Fi, and this phone doesn't have a smart card. It doesn't have, sorry, a SIM card. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna read an ID card document if I'm not. I have a problem with where is it? Okay, here it is. I'm gonna read this card. So I'm gonna scan this ID document. Okay, here it is. So here it goes, it look at this QR code. This QR code is signed, digitally signed, getting this information. The issuer in this application has been added as trusted issuer. So like we verified it. All of this can happen offline, right? There is like, I'm still offline. So I'm gonna use this identity. And then so in data collect, it's opening the page about this person. I have logs, right? So you see like the claim 169 was verified now. And we can share, we can synchronize all the logs of what is being done also. Potentially, I can fill more information about this person, but in this case, I'm just going to enroll this person into a program. So I'm selecting a program, or at least like ask for an enrollment, right? So disability, here it is, right? So now it's done. I'm going to go back to the internet. And if my internet is working and my Wi-Fi is connecting fast enough, okay, here it is. I can go back and automatically it's going to synchronize, and oh, it's synchronized, right? So now we're done with the phone. So I'm going to make this full. So now in the backend, I'm going to speed up the synchronization. So like this data is going to a backend, and then this backend, the IDPass data collect backend, and then this backend is going to synchronize with OpenSPP, but it can synchronize with other systems as well, right? It's not OpenSPP specific. So this application is now in OpenSPP. Before we look at how it works in OpenSPP, I'm going to go quickly through some screens in OpenSPP, so making it easier to understand what is really happening, because it's all in the backend, like users don't really see it. So this is OpenSPP as a registry. So here, so I was enrolling Sophia. So we see her information here. Then I have Sophia also in the disability registry. So I changed the color so we can differentiate. And she has disability status, so physical impairment. And so next step is going to be to go to OpenSPP disability registry and OpenG2P to get the information. How does it work in OpenSPP to do this? So basically in OpenSPP, you would define data providers, right? So we have here one instance of OpenSPP as a data provider and one instance of OpenG2P. So let's just open the OpenG2P one, where we define the information here about it and the type of registry it is, and also if we have like some ID mapping to do and some variables, some mapping variables. I'll show this right after. And also some caching information for the information. And then what is also configured into OpenSPP is that we configured some variables in OpenSPP that actually not data that is stored in OpenSPP, but that will trigger a check into another system, right? And you will see later, like as part of the demo, this is done like synchronously because it's some small amount of data, but like if it's high amount of data, then this is put into a background queue and it's like asynchronously done. But for demo, like we do it synchronous, so that's easier and clear. So for example, here, like we define in OpenSPP, the variable is poor. And actually what is going to happen is that when an expression for enrolling into a program is going to verify if someone of the poverty level of a person, it's actually going to go to this external system, social registry, to look at as an income level. And it's going to set this into a variable is poor. Same is going to happen for the disability. I had it open also. So for the disability, the same thing, except that it's going to go to OpenSPP disability registry, and it's going to call it will check the has disability variables and re-expose it as has disability variables. And so the beauty of doing things like this is that I can switch from backend anytime. So if you change of the social registry, if you change of disability registry, you basically have to change in OpenSPP the mapping, but like everything else stays the same. So like there is no hard-coded and there is actually no code created for this. It's just by configuration that this is being done. So I'm going to go now. So basically the request for Sophia arrived here. Oops, what happened? Wait, I'm on the wrong, since I think I'm on the wrong instance. Change request. Okay, I'm gonna submit it for approval. Okay. I think I messed up some of the things. Okay. Give me a second. Okay. Yeah, I did too. So I'm switching. Yeah. Yeah, sorry. I think like when I prepared the demo and I reset, I forgot to reset some things. Okay. So basically that should have asked to have her enroll into the program. And sorry for the problem here of enrolling her. Why? Oops, sorry. I'll try just one more time. Okay. No, I think there is a problem. Okay. I'm gonna trigger it another way. Okay. That's if everything goes well. Otherwise, I'm gonna explain what should have happened. And so it seems to be working because it's taking a little bit of time because actually it went to the other system and collect this. So like instead of having her enroll, right? So I took like the whole database to do this, but it's kind of the same things. So if we go back to Sophia, so now we have Sophia here, and we can see the configuration here. And I can edit the configuration. And so you saw the variables I created before. So as disability is equals true and is poor equals low. So basically what it did is, and because we have this expression for the eligibility criteria for this program, it basically went to the social registry and to the disability registry to get this. And actually, just to prove it, we have logs here, and I should be able to show you. So you will see 821. I'm in Thailand, so that's why. So basically, it went and it called all this from the other system, right? And so we see that some people had is poor to medium, so they were not enrolled, right? So the beauty of this, and this is also like something that is only possible because we have a standard like DCI, is that we were able to go to another system without writing any code, basically. So you can implement this without any code being implemented. And so yes, now the person they are enrolled here, and then we can bring them into the cycles, do the cash transfer, and it's gonna work. So I can enroll them. Here it is, and then I can create a cycle, and I have a cycle. They're in a cycle, and then I can prepare the entitlement. And so if I go to the cycle, I can, sorry, this one. And I can see the entitlements that have been prepared and calculated. So all of this is same thing for entitlement, right? Entitlement calculation can average also data that is on other system. And the data is not copied again into OpenSPP. We dynamically go and get it and cache it for a small period of time so that we don't do too many queries to the other servers, but yes. So that will end my demo. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jeremy. Appreciate that. I think that's very interesting to look at. Okay, I guess so most of the questions were answered except for two. But what I would like to do, we don't have a lot of time before. We'd love to jump to the panel as well. But I think the presentation that Jeremy and colleagues have presented worth getting 5 to 10 minutes max. So if people want to ask questions directly to our presenters, can I ask you to raise hands? We can have 2 to 3 questions from the audience. So please, if you can raise your hand, and I will call on your name to unmute and ask the questions. But also, while people are kind of, raising their hands, we have 2 questions that are not answered. One from Ali Kassander and the other from Justice Ogona. And the first one from Ali is on the auto approvals, especially in the enrollment and registration, to minimize interactions and expedite the registration process. how are we kind of thinking about this, right? One thing from my side is that I think it's always, especially in the registration and enrollment in social benefits, you will need some sort of a human in the loop to make sure that the machine is not making the selections. But anyone can quickly react to this in 1 minute from our presenters? Any volunteer from presenters?
Yeah, I mean, I can talk quickly about this. I think for OpenG2P and for OpenSPP, I think like we can automate this approval, right? It's more like as for the demo, so like we are more step by step to show what is happening, but like all this can be automated. So in the case of OpenSPP, in the change request, we have a way to say that it's auto-approved, or like approval can call another systems that verify information. If it matches, then it's automatically approved. If it doesn't match, then it goes to manual verification. Yeah.
Thank you, Jeremy. No, this is great. So basically what you're saying is that the feature is there, but it depends on how we want to go about it in terms of, if you need someone in the loop or not. The other question from Justice is that, in countries where there's no NID, national ID, how is the biometric can be used in the different name systems in the demo? So, kind of handling this system where actually there's no national ID or foundational ID in the country. How are you guys dealing with this issue? So, can we get another volunteer from the presenters on this?
I will go here.
Perfect.
So in case we don't have a foundational ID in the country, then I guess one way that we look at is that each department, let's say the social registry department or the civil registry department, they will allocate what we call as a functional IDs. So which means that they will get a birth control number or a birth registration number. And then OpenG2P, now if it is going to interface with OpenCRVS, since OpenCRVS is basically a trusted system, then we will trust that birth registration number and then take it forward. So it's not mandatory for foundational ID. Yes, it's a great thing to have, but in the absence of foundational ID, we can also work with functional IDs, different departments having their own ID systems. That's one way to look at the solution.
No, thank you so much, Vinky. This is great. Okay, so given that we don't have, so I'm gonna quickly go, given that Vinky and Jeremy already volunteered, so maybe kind of quickly going to Sonal, where we have some of, prepared questions. So maybe Sonal on Open MS. While IDs are used to authenticate beneficiaries, how do you ensure that people in the remote regions are not excluded from the system? And also we have Anita here, but we'll come back to you, Anita. But maybe Sonal, if you can quickly on this inclusion part of like how do you deal with people in remote regions and they're not excluded from the system. Sonal, over to you. You're muted, Sonal, if you can hear us.
Yeah, can you come again?
Yes, you use ID to authenticate beneficiaries, right? But how do you ensure that people in remote regions are not excluded from the systems, especially if, in case of they don't have ID or the inclusion aspect of your system? How do you handle that, especially for remote regions?
So in our case, I think that really depends upon how the government handles the inclusion of those IDs. But we generally suggest government to have, especially in our case, there's a use case. So the use case can be answered as the use case can be explained as an answer. The inclusion is done now as when the child is born. There is a particular ID registered in his case. So those IDs can be used so that no one is left out during the inclusion. So we know that from the experience from the country, there are lots of things going, like there's a wide range of people are not being inclusion lately, but the policies and the reform should be done so that everyone can be included even from the births. So I think there is no exact answer to these questions, but I think the policy and reform can shape for the better inclusion.
Thank you so much.
yeah, not the system that does the inclusion, but the policy and reforms. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, thank you so much. I couldn't agree more on the last part. I see Ed, you have your hands up. Maybe you want to address this one
Yeah,
as
if I
well?
may, because
Okay.
thank you. Because what one could see the civil registration system as, a very foundational system for inclusion, in fact. Certainly UNICEF, make a big point about, legal identity from birth, etc., and, ensuring inclusion from birth. And you've seen what happens once you have interoperability between civil registration and other systems, etc. So it's vitally important that completeness rates of birth registration and death registration are as high as possible. So within OpenCRVS, from the beginning of building the platform, we thought long and hard about how to do this. We had for a long time quite a rudimentary sort of offline capability. In the latest version of OpenCRVS, in 1.9, later versions of 1.9, we included full offline capability. So even in rural areas, you can access OpenCRVS, declare a birth, register a birth, leave with a certificate of birth, which of course then has you within the system. Now, of course, the National Registry may not be updated until that local, be it tablet device, laptop, is synchronized with the central server. Ultimately, it's a national civil registration platform and designed to be. But nonetheless, we feel it's important to have a one-stop offline shop, for inclusion for civil registration, for the registration of vital events.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Ed. While I have you here, maybe in a quick less than a minute, if you can reflect on, especially on OpenCRVS, on how do you manage different data requirements from different sectors, sort of ensuring data minimization and purpose limitation so that only the necessary data is transferred between systems using the interoperability. So kind of given that CRVS are kind of central for so many databases, right? So how do you manage this kind of data minimization and purpose limitation without oversharing and without kind of, sometimes sharing information that's not necessary?
Yeah, that's an important question because, of course, the civil registry is packed full of personally identifiable information. By definition, that's what it includes. So we need mechanisms to cater for that. So it's handled through layered checks, not one single control point. So I think, yeah. So let me 1 second.
Maybe Ed, if you don't mind, given that we're kind of rushing our time, can you type your reflection on this point in the chat? Would that be okay?
Yeah, I could do that. It's no
Oh,
problem.
awesome. Thank you so much, Ed. Appreciate it. Just because we spoke about inclusion, I want to make sure that we're not forgetting Rashik from the Q&A. So Rashik, last question to you on this session, on this section is on the, how does MOSIP based ID system support cross-sectoral systems such as health, social protection, in a whole of a government approach, working as a DPI, without requiring customized integration for every new agency, right? So how do you handle this from MOSIP point of view? Over to you, Rashik. And again, also in less than 1.5 minutes, you would do me a great favor. Thank you.
Sure. I'll try to keep it short. So, I'll say that part of the answer lies in the demo that we saw today. So,
Yeah.
across the different DPGs, we saw that how in each and every step, there was a step where the identity verification was happening against the MOSIP ID platform. So, if you see from the perspective of national ID or the foundational ID, the MOSIP is not like customized for any particular sector or a particular a domain within a country. So it serves as so once the MOSIP is deployed and the platform is in use, it becomes a kind of a shared trusted layer, and it serves as a backbone for the identity layer. And then the different sectors players that are within the country can work on the top of this identity layer and then can make use of the identity data that is stored within the ID registry. And we saw one of the examples where e-signet was being leveraged to do the identity verification and authentication. So in turn, e-signet is talking to the MOSIP ID system, and the different DPGs are actually using e-signet to make sure that the person who is asking for the delivery is the right person. So if you see from the foundational ID is allowing citizens to create the ID, and then e-signet is allowing to put those IDs to use. So all we have to do is there is no customization or different integrations required for different sectors. All that is required is you onboard these different, for example, health portal or service or any other service portal like a banking portal. You onboard them as a relying party and then start using the already created ID registry that is being created using the MOSIP platform. So, and we have seen this working, this whole of government approach in different countries as well. I'll just quickly say that we do have an example where Philippines is they have their own foundation ID system, which is built on top of MOSIP. They have this PhilSys, and they have used it to enroll a large number of people into the bank, into the bank and creating accounts for them. And we have other examples like Morocco and Ethiopia as well, where they have created a national ID for the citizen and they use it across different sectors to provide delivery. So so in short, MOSIP is a one-time effort where you put in the backbone for the digital infrastructure by having a national ID, which can serve as a shared trusted layer across
Thank
the
you so
different.
much, Rashid. Thank you so much. Actually, this Q&A and discussion with you, the whole presenters, is very exciting, and I'm really grateful for all of your insights. I think that would be useful. But I would ask also participants continue writing questions, and then of presenters, please feel free to answer in the chat if possible. Now, I'm very excited for our next session, which is our panel, where we have a great three panelists, starting with Dominique Lescassi from GIZ, focusing on Pakistan. Dom, are you with us? Just say hi, just to make sure that
Hi.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Dom. Good to see you. And then we have also Lamine Fall. I was about to say Lamine Yamal if you follow for football, but I did not. I caught myself. So hi, Lamine, are you with us?
Hi, Mohammed.
Okay, thank you so much, Lamine. And also we have George Diaz from Peru as well joining us. George, are you with us?
Yes, I'm with you.
Perfect. Thank you so much, George, Lamine, and Dom for joining. Maybe, Dom, let me start with you, focusing a little bit on Pakistan, where the work that GIZ Pakistan has been a key partner in helping the country to build the national interoperability framework. So, how have the standards shifted the approach from building isolated system to created a unified ecosystem in the country?
Yeah, thank you very much for the question. So standards have been very important for shifting the discussion in Pakistan away from isolated systems, system development towards a more coherent interoperability ecosystem. In our ASP project, we have not directly implemented with our partners a ready-made DCI API as such, but the DCI approach as itself of standardized processes and data harmonization has strongly influenced how we and our partner think about interoperability, and not as a series of isolated one-off technical connections, but as a structured process of harmonizing data, institutional workflows, and exchange protocols across actors and data security. In Pakistan, there's a very rich ecosystem of a fragmented data landscape. At the federal level, we have strong institutions and systems with world-class federal registries such as NADRA and the BISP NSCR. But at the same time, provinces such Sindh, Punjab, and KP are developing their own social protection systems, registries, and delivery mechanisms. And the challenge is here, therefore, not to replace the existing systems, but make them speak to each other in a secure, structured, and legally sounding way. And this is exactly where the DCI logic has been particularly helpful. It provides a reference point for common data definitions, minimum required data fields, reusable integration models, and so on. And in practice, then discussing data exchange between provincial and federal actors such as BISP and NATRA. We do not only ask whether two systems can technically connect. We ask, what is the use case? Which data is truly required? Who is legally responsible? And what is the minimum data set? We are not asking institutions to replace their systems or legally investments. Rather, the DCI approach helps to create a common interoperability layer. For example, a provincial program should be able to query a federal registry in real time, enabling instant eligibility checks and dynamic data updates for adaptive social protection during climate shocks, for example.
Perfect. No, thank you so much, Dominic. I think, yeah, the context in Pakistan is extremely also important because of the different systems at the federal and provincial level. So I think such a standards can play a significant role in like kind of making this connection even more seamless. Okay, let me move to Peru and asking our expert George here on the experience of using DCI standards in the country. And I know, George, you've been supporting the country there in terms of implementing DCI, social registry, and open MIS interoperability standards to facilitate the exchange between the cash transfer program, I think called Gentus, and the OFIS, I hope I'm saying this as it's said in Peru, the targeting system, which is similar to social registry. So when connecting, from your point of view, George, when connecting two social protection platforms such as the cash transfer program, MIS, and the social registry, why is the traditional integration approach considered an operational bottleneck? And how does adapting DCI standards transform this architecture into a more sustainable one? Over to you, George.
Okay. Yes, well, traditional custom-built point-to-point links are incredibly fragile because the moment one agency updates its software or alters a form, the connection breaks, interrupting data flow and forcing staff to waste time on manual fixes. DCI standards resolve this by acting as an universal translator. Instead of building fragile custom bridges, both systems map to one global standard. This ensures zero data loss when sharing sensitive family records, reducing long-term maintenance costs, and creates a reliable framework that keeps critical information moving smoothly without human error, regardless of technological changes.
Thank you so much, George. Now this is great. So maybe let's move to West Africa and Lamin. If you can tell us more about your experience in Senegal, right? I know you've been supporting the Senegal implementation of the social registry and integrated beneficiary registry interoperability based on DCI standards. What are the technical interoperability challenges are you facing on the ground, and how will adapting those standards help streamline data exchange?
Thank you, Mohammed. I will speak in, my English is not very good, so I will speak in French. Okay. So if the traductor.
In Senegal, introduction of DCI was a very important trigger because it enabled us to reflect on a more global approach structured in digital transformation of social protection. In Senegal, we have a strategy of digital transformation at a national level. This strategy, which is a national strategy, which wants to facilitate digitalization of public services, to promote digital economy, etc. The introduction of DCI enabled to contextualize the sector of social protection, this transformation that was done at a national level. So today, with DCI, we can create a master plan which enables us to implement the different standards of DCI in a general manner at the level of social protection. The reality today in terms of social protection in Senegal is that services are quite fragmented. We have a certain institution which developed its own information system. So with all the consequences implied with this, there was an older system. Systems are not operable and they are not well documented. And the direct impact at the level of interoperability is that the systems may not have been conceived to be interoperable. So the DCI approach enabled us to gradually build a federal interoperable system aligned with the national strategy. The objective is not to brutally replace the existing systems, but to enable institutions to keep their systems, the existing ones, so that they become interoperable and well managed. So DCI is actually providing this common framework of governance. This is, in fact, what we have done, Mohamed.
Merci beaucoup, Lamine. Thank you so much. And while I have I think for people who shifted the interpretation, I'm gonna stay with you a little bit, Lamine, so we don't switch the interpretation again. Is maybe on the second question on like when implementing social registry and integrated beneficiary.
Hello? Hello?
We can hear you, Jamin.
Ok. Alors, je n'entends plus forcément Mohamed.
I cannot hear Mohamed. Maybe we can continue with the questions. One of the main friction points regarding the alignment of the schemes given was that these different systems were historically developed in a quite isolated manner. Each had developed their own system in isolation. The consequence is in terms of IDs or nomenclatures and in terms of certain definitions, we had differences. We didn't have uniformity. We didn't have modern things, but we had quite heterogeneous stuff. The problem was that we had a mediocre data quality. So the systems were not operable and they were not managed as a whole. So the DCI standard helps us gradually build an interoperable common language. This is what's important. And DCI is encouraging the model of a harmonized data model and a shared governance mechanism. Our objective is to gradually go from a fragmented system to an ecosystem of social protection, which is capable of sharing reliable, safe, and in real-time data.
All right, perfect. Sorry, team. Am I audible? Sorry, I had an internet connection. Okay, perfect. I see nods. But merci beaucoup, Lamine. Thank you so much on this, and I'm glad that the team has managed to kind of transition. Okay, maybe George, I'll go back to you on Peru on data harmonization between different public institutions. Often stalls for years over bureaucratic semantics. How did the DCI standard help in Peru in that regard?
Well, instead of spending months debating proprietary data definitions, DCI provides us with a ready-made neutral data dictionary that serves as our single source of truth from the day one. DCI standards adopt international standards where available and are developed through the global consensus when not. This eliminated administrative friction during our cross-agency workshops because the standard clearly define universal fields for social demographic data. With this standard foundation, we map out the interoperability use case, data requirements, and define how secure data exchange protocols should replace manual file sharing between the two systems. The DCI standards streamline our entire preparation.
Thank you so much, George. Appreciate that. Going back, Dom, thank you so much for being patient. But I think you alluded to a very important point about the federal versus provinces, right? And that kind of takes us to the actually technical integration is only half of the battle, right? There's the governance part, which is also a different beast, if I may say. So from your perspective, how is Pakistan defining those institutional rules, responsibility, between province and federals, and what mechanisms are in place to ensure that those interoperability frameworks are sustainable and managed well over long term?
Yeah, so technical interoperability is only one small part of the challenge, right? So in many ways, interoperability is mainly a governance question. So interoperability may be 10% technology and 90% governance.
Indeed.
But what people often miss is that the DCI standards actually guide the governance model, right? So they aren't just for developers. They provide the rules of engagement for institutions. And in Pakistan, this is particularly important because what you mentioned, responsibilities are distributed between federal and provincial level. Federal institutions such as BISP and NADRA manage key national registries and identity-related data, but the provinces, on the other hand, are responsible for many social protection programs and the distribution, and increasingly build their own management information systems and beneficiary databases. So the main question is more, how do we enable data exchange without blurring mandates, ownerships, and accountability? This is where the DCI-inspired approaches has been very useful for the ASP project and for our partners, and it helped us structure the government's discussion around clear use cases, clear defined data fields, data minimization, consent, and legal responsibilities. And we are working with partners to move away from informal or personality-driven data sharing and towards institutionalized arrangements. In practical terms, this means supporting processes such as data sharing agreements, SOPs, and MOUs, technical working groups, and clearer role definitions between data custodians and data users. Institutions like NADRA or BIS remains the custodians of the core data, and provincial authority may become the authorized data user for a clearly defined social protection use case. But the exchange has to be governed by agreed rules. What data is shared, for what purpose, for which process, with which safeguards, and with which auditability. For long-term sustainability, the key is institutionalization. Standards should not remain in consultant reports or project documents, so they need to be embedded into the MOUs, SOPs, service level agreements. Yeah, but so from our perspective, the biggest contribution from the DCI approach is that it provides a common language. It helps technical teams, policymakers, and program managers sit around the same table and discuss interoperability. And not only as an IT issue, sometimes, right? But as a shared governance and service delivery agenda.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, thank you so much, Dom. I think the word institutionalization is critical here, and thanks for raising this. So maybe if we go back to you, George, on Peru, I think Dom kind of opened this discussion about sustainability, institutionalization, and how we make this long term. And leaders and politicians usually kind of change, right? So from an operational standpoint, what makes DCI standards the ultimate foundation for long-term future of these programs? Sorry.
Well, thanks, Mohammed. The ultimate value of DCI standard is future-proofing. They ensure that even if an agency completely overhauls its internal IT software, the data exchange won't break, as long as both sides still speak the DCI language. By isolating the data flow from political or technical shifts, we protect the social safety net from costly operational downtime. This behind the scenes instability means vulnerable families receive their benefits faster and more securely despite institutional changes.
Thank you so much, George. Appreciate that. Then maybe moving to Lamine to close us with the last question on Senegal, which is not far away from what we asked George, but more on the legacy systems and the systems that are the management information system that are kind of, from previous era or technologically and the language that were written with they're not up to date and up to the current technical advancement. So how is it difficult to implement DCI Open API specifications on top of Senegal's existing infrastructure?
It's an important challenge because today we know that most of the systems that were implemented are quite old systems. There is a legacy that is quite heavy. It is necessary to update the systems, not to start from scratch, but to adjust the systems. See which part has to be included in the systems to guarantee, in fact, their operation. The idea is not to include all the systems or to start from zero, but to add an interoperability layer by means of communication and enabling communication between the systems.
Thank you so much, Lamin. Thank you so much, George, and also Dom for this kind of great insights from three different countries from 3 different continents. But I think this speaks volume to the importance of the standards and open source standards to kind of regardless of the context, because I think they help standardize all of those systems, and appreciate all the insights from the team. So now if I kindly ask to yes, thank you so much, pull the presentation on the final key takeaways and remarks from this. So I think from the discussions, whether from the TPG's presentation, but also from our great panelists here, that there are several key takeaways. First is that unified ecosystems such as standards, DPG, whether it's from MOSIP, OpenCRVS, OpenG2P, OpenSPP, OpenMS, acts as a secure plug and play building blocks that kind of help get rid of this vendor lock-in issue that many countries are struggling with, and also strengthening the DPI foundations that are critical. So I think it's very extremely important that the unified ecosystems are put in place and are allow countries to plug and play. And second is the open access, which I think it's also extremely important, especially from the panel we discussed about the 3 countries and how having those open access and standards documentations helped in process, data schemes, API, that are completely transparent, freely available to everyone. And you find the link here, and we'll if you go to our website on social protection spdci.org technical standards, you will find all of those details there that can help you in your operation, that can help you in the program that you are managing. Partner network, I think this is one of the key strengths of this kind of community, is that we leverage active technical advisory, implementation support, capacity building from global DCI partners such as the World Bank, GIZ, ILO, FIAB, and Expertise France, and more. But this kind of bringing all of those institutions and countries together in one venue, I think it's extremely important to share knowledge and expertise. And finally, actionable frameworks, where access to DCI best practices guide and data governance framework all on our websites to help you kind of not to do this alone, where we have all the guidance and frameworks that are needed to go ahead. But also we have help desks and other means of communicating together so we can help you throughout the journey. So with that, thank you all, and we can close, and I appreciate all the time, questions, and energy. And if you want to learn more about what we do, here are the information. You can visit us on the website, or email us, or check us on the LinkedIn, GitHub, and Gitbook. With that, thank you all, and appreciate it, and have a lovely rest of your day.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.